What is up, you guys? Sorry for the lack of response. It's been a while. I've been dealing with some stuff with school and just been focusing on other things within my life. But here it is, another transit vlog for you. So yes, as the title implies, I'm going to be covering 11 of the 12 commuter rail systems within Southern California, as I've ridden almost all of them, even including the Amtrak ones, actually. So to lay down the basic rules setup for this, I'm even going to be including some of the Amtrak routes as long as they have at least 3 stops within Southern California, which pretty much includes almost all of them. Quick notion, I'm going to have to exclude the coaster from this list because it only serves a greater route served by the Pacific Surfliner within Greater San Diego. Sorry, and quick shout out to CoasterFan2105. I love your vids and subscribe to his channel. I'll leave a link in the description eventually. So without further ado, we launch our number 11 with the Southwest Chief. The Southwest Chief is Amtrak's intermittent long-run intercity train running between Los Angeles and Chicago with intermittent stops within Southern California being Fullerton, Riverside, and San Bernardino, as well as including Barstow. Now, I don't really recommend using this as a commuter train as such because there's only 4 trains daily run by Amtrak, and you'd have to time your commute pretty damn tight to fit each train within your daily commute. Because once this train takes off, they are unforgiving. They will leave you. There is no holding the door open. They will just go. Sometimes they'll even be early or late, but you have to be within that specific block time at the station. Number 10 brings us to the Coast Starlight, another Amtrak run route, only this one runs between Los Angeles and Seattle, with intermittent stops being within Burbank, Oxnard, Ventura, Carpinteria, and all the way to Santa Barbara and beyond, even past San Luis Obispo. Initially, the Coast Starlight was a piece of Metrolink and Amtrak's dual-use service called Rail-to-Rail, in which Metrolink monthly pass holders could borrow some Amtrak services, as in taking the Coast Starlight or Pacific Surfliner along select Metrolink routes within certain boundaries. But the problem is, fewer and fewer people were taking the Coast Starlight, thus eliminating the need for this in 2002 due to massive budget cuts. As for the amenities, you get 2 dining cars, a nice panorama car. Only issue is that Amtrak sends 2 trains daily, which makes commuting pretty rough, just like I mentioned with the Southwest Chief. That brings me to number 9, the 91 Paris Valley line. Now, initially this was the 91 line, which ran as an alternative for the Riverside line between Los Angeles and Riverside, with intermittent stops in Orange County, Corona, and pretty much just following the route of the 91 freeway. In 2015, Metrolink expanded the route further east, and actually it turned south towards Lake Paris, among other areas within the eastern half of the Inland Empire. From experience, this train, it's an okay alternative to the Riverside line. Problem is, it's really fast when it needs to be, but at the same time, it's got too many intermittent stops that it doesn't need, and it can also be quite slow if it's timed badly. Sadly, the scheduling is terrible if you live in Paris or along the eastern half of the 91. There are 6 trains on weekdays only, so if you need to go to LA for whatever reason on the weekend, you are screwed because there are no train service on weekends. In fact, they only send 6 trains a day on weekdays. Bringing me to number 8, another Amtrak route, the Sunset Limited and Texas Eagle, a route near me, actually. Now, the biggest seller on this has to be the pricing. You can go from Pomona, California to Maricopa, Arizona for under $40 one way. I am not making that up. I checked it actually to visit a friend of mine who recently got accepted to ASU. It's $35. Problem is, the pricing is the only good thing in terms of accessibility for the Sunset Limited and Texas Eagle. Problem is, Amtrak sent 6 trains weekly with absolutely terrible scheduling. It either leaves Los Angeles at 10 p.m., and then arrives the next day at 4 a.m., primarily due to prioritization within Texas and Chicago for scheduling rights. Nevertheless, the pricing is the only reason you'd ever need to take it. God, that's a terrible schedule. Speaking of bad scheduling, it brings me to number 7, the Ventura County line. This line runs parallel to an Amtrak route, pretty much the northern Surfliner bound for Santa Barbara and San Luis Obispo. This line runs between Los Angeles and Eastern Ventura, formerly Montalvo. The problem is, this train does not run on any weekend since ever. The Riverside even had weekend service at some point. But the problem is, it's the scheduling. This train will dump you off at probably Camarillo or Moore Park because typically the scheduling is abhorrent. They send 4 trains pretty much every weekday between Los Angeles and Montalvo, and it is terrible. You either have to get on at 6 in the morning or 8 at night. In my opinion, it's one of the worst scheduled commuter rail system lines in the country. It's also one of the most unsafe, being that there were 2 fatal Metrolink collisions, being in 2005 and 2008, both which were highly publicized. Nevertheless, this isn't a great line to take. Anyway, number 6 is the Inland Empire Orange County. Yeah, you can read it. This line runs between Oceanside, California and San Bernardino, California, one of the only suburb-to-suburb commuter rail lines within the United States. Only issue is, again, another problem with the scheduling. Due to track rights owned by the North County Transit Association, basically pretty much the coaster people, this line sends 4 trains a day between Oceanside and San Bernardino, making it quite inconvenient. As is the case with Ventura County line, it's either really early or really late, which isn't a great idea for scheduling at all. However, though, it does mirror the routes of the 91 line, part of the San Bernardino line, and a big portion of the Orange County line. So if you happen to live in San Bernardino rooting for the worst baseball team in Los Angeles, there you go. You have a line that will take you relatively close to one of the worst baseball stadiums in Southern California. And brings me to number 5, the Antelope Valley Line. A line initially running between Los Angeles and Santa Clarita, this line expanded service to Lancaster in 1993 and changing its name to the Antelope Valley Line. Problem is, unlike the case with the Inland OC line and the Ventura County line, there is actually much more convenient service between Los Angeles and Lancaster. The only issue is it's dreadfully slow between Via Princesa and Palmdale, being that the train is maxed out at approximately 30 miles an hour through the canyon due to the tight bends and curves and risk of derailment. However, I do advise taking it. It's a much scenic route. It's incredibly fast once you're going through the San Fernando Valley and that period between Sun Valley and Newhall. And it's overall a very good experience. I mean, unless you really need to be in Lancaster for whatever reason. I mean, I only go for family. What's your excuse? Number 4, bringing me to the oldest line in the system, being the Orange County line. Originally formed as part of Amtrak's San Diegan route, which later morphed into the Surfliner. And if you want to talk about disappointments, the Angels have a season ticket deal, where your ticket, actually regardless if you have season tickets or not, will count for your trip on the Metrolink. Even season ticket holders can actually have it translated into a monthly pass upon Metrolink. Problem is, it's the Angels. They are the worst team in California, and probably in the entire AL West. I just realized I forgot to say the route. Anyway, the route between this is, again, between Oceanside and Los Angeles, partially upon the same route as the Inland OC line and partially on the same route as the 91 line. The problem with this train, though, much revolves around its route pattern. It typically follows the route of the 5 freeway instead of the 57 freeway. So it runs right through the armpits of Orange County, predominantly being the bad sides of Orange, Santa Ana, Anaheim, and some pretty awful areas within Irvine and Tustin. Although the latter 2 stations, I advise, aren't as bad as the previous ones I mentioned. Anyway, bringing me to number 3, speaking of the area, is the Pacific Surfliner. Originally launched in 2002 to replace the aging San Diegan fleet, this one runs between either Los Angeles and San Luis Obispo or Los Angeles and San Diego, following the routes of the Orange County line and the Coaster for going south, and for the Ventura County line and Coast Starlight for going north. I actually do advise this. My only issue is the pricing. The pricing is pretty crazy. It's like $60 round trip on economy class, and then like $120 round trip on business class between either destination. Pricing aside, you can hop aboard it if you have a monthly pass between either the Ventura County line or the Orange County line, albeit I will say they are quite strict. You can't buy a ticket and pretty much jump to the Surfliner. I tried that once, and they nearly kicked my ass off the train. Also, a lot of the stewards really aren't the friendliest. Anyway, if you want a train with convenient timing, but an incredibly slow route, I give you number 2, the San Bernardino line. This is the most frequently used line within the system. In fact, so frequent, back between 1993 and 2006, there was even a transfer train going from San Bernardino to Riverside due to high ridership. Approximately 8,000 people daily ride this line. That's how many people freaking use it, man. In fact, this was the first Metrolink train I'd ever ridden on. The first train I'd actually ridden on within Southern California being the Pacific Surfliner. Convenience of this is okay, despite the great timing. It does have intermittent stops at the Los Angeles County Fairgrounds in Pomona, and it does have a stop at the Auto Club Speedway on race days, depending on when the fair is active or when the race is active. However, it doesn't really have good access to other amenities within the area, such as airports, transfer stations, and really doesn't have much accessibility to Amtrak trains unless you take it all the frickin' way to San Bernardino, which is long. Speaking of accessibility and bad scheduling, though, here is number 1, the Riverside line. Now, this line I commute to and from school with, and by all means, it is amazing. Only problem is, due to low ridership and bad marketing from the early 2000s and the fact that Union Pacific owned the lines, the train pretty much operates on a bad schedule. It only operates on weekdays at peak commuter hours. It has not run on a weekend since 2002. However, this train by all means is extremely fast, extremely convenient, and the service is the best in the entire Metrolink system, coming from someone who's ridden every single line in the system. You can even get to Ontario Airport from East Ontario Station, albeit it is about a mile away from the terminal, but there are plenty of buses and Uber routes that you will be able to take. This train's route follows the 60 freeway and the 10 freeway, serving the southern half of the Inland Empire, including Pomona, Ontario, Harupa Valley, all the way to Riverside. Heading the other way, it serves Montebello and the City of Industry, which is where I get off to go to school. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to give it a look at yourself. If you have any differing opinions on some of the lines, feel free to let me know in the comments. Anyway, I had fun with that. And thank you guys very much for watching. And shout out to CoasterFan2105. Anyway, keep suggesting more videos. I'm eager to do whatever you guys need me to do. Anyway, thanks for watching, you guys. Be sure to like and subscribe.